My school's new teacher unleashes dark secrets at midnight. Shocking truth revealed. The clock struck 12 in a chilling symphony, echoing down the empty hallways of Lincoln High. Shadows danced on the walls as whispers of dread swept through the air. There, in room 204, the fluorescent lights flickered, revealing a figure hunched over the desk. It was Mr. Grayson, the new English teacher, who seemed to harbor a storm of secrets behind his fevered eyes. Students murmured, exchanging glances filled with a mix of intrigue and fear. Rumors had already spread like wildfire. Some said he never slept, others suspected he was hiding something dark and terrible. The news of Mr. Grayson's arrival was already shrouded in mystery, but now it grew tenfold. A strange aroma of burnt coffee wafted through the halls, a lingering trace of something foul, almost supernatural. The janitors wouldn't go near room 204. They claimed to hear strange sobbing in the dead of night. Even the boldest kids in school, the ones who would dare each other to breach that forbidden doorway, now hesitated, unnerved by unseen forces at play. Escalating tension filled the static air as students scoped out the unusual happenings. Late-night screams echoed around the building, but the only witness, a sophomore named Mia, felt the icy grip of fear whenever she thought about those haunting cries. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something sinister lurking just beyond the classroom door. Tommy, her best friend, brushed it off. "You're overthinking it, Mia. He's just a teacher." Yet Mia felt it, the pulsing energy in the air, like a warning sign they were too naive to read. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." But as midnight approached, curiosity pulled Mia closer to the door. Trembling, she reached for the handle, feeling its cold metal beneath her fingertips. With one deep breath, she turned it, the creak startling her more than she anticipated. Inside, the classroom was dark, the only light illuminating the chalkboard was an eerie green hue. Mia's pulse raced as she stepped inside, drawn by a sound that made her blood run cold, a soft, barely audible chant echoing through the enigmatic space. "Help me, help us." The voice echoed, wrapping her in a chilling embrace. What had she just stumbled into? Was it just her mind, or did the air itself thicken with every word spoken in that twisted chorus? This is just the beginning. What secrets would she uncover in room 204? And were they worth the terrifying price of knowledge? Mia's heart raced as she stood frozen in the dimly lit room, bathed in the eerie green light. The whisper of "help me, help us," continued to swirl around her like a chilling breeze, tightening its grip on her chest. Anguish seeped through her veins, demanding she leave, yet something deeper pulled her in. "Is anyone there?" She called out, her voice quivering, barely above a whisper. Silence fell, heavier than before, pressing down on her. The shadows shifted, merging and swirling, and she wondered if the darkness itself was alive, watching her. As her eyes adjusted to the gloom, she noticed strange symbols chalked on the board. They weren't words, but ancient-looking runes and spirals, intertwined in dizzying patterns. A rivulet of panic ran down her spine, her throat felt tight, constricted by an unseen force. What was happening in this room? Then the chanting grew louder, more insistent, merging with the sound of dripping water. She turned abruptly, scanning the corners. Behind the desk, a low flicker illuminated a small, cracked mirror propped against the wall. Mia could see movement, figures swirling behind her reflection. She squinted, but the faces were distorted, mouths moving in sync with the chilling chants. "Get out! Get out!" A voice from within her shouted, yet her feet remained glued to the spot. Mia's mind raced. Deep down, she felt she couldn't flee without understanding. Tommy's light-hearted dismissal tugged at her conscience, but so did the sense of urgency from the voices. Desperation clawed at her to uncover the truth, even if it meant facing whatever darkness Mr. Grayson had summoned. The chanting grew more frantic as she inched closer to the mirror. With trembling hands, she brushed her fingertips across its cracked surface. Suddenly, the room temperature plummeted. A cold gust whipped around her, as if some invisible entity had unleashed its wrath. The symbols on the blackboard ignited, glowing fiercely with a sickly light. "Help me!" The cry sliced through her, and Mia staggered backward. A shadow loomed from behind the desk, coalescing into a shape she recognized. It was Mr. Grayson. His hair was disheveled, eyes wild, almost feral. "You shouldn't be here," he rasped, his voice strained, every word trembling with urgency. "Why? What is happening?" Mia demanded, the shrillness of her own voice raw with fear. "There are forces at play you don't understand. I'm trying to contain them," he yelled, desperation reverberating in the air. "They want to break free." Before she could respond, a piercing scream shattered the atmosphere, resonating from the corridor just outside room 204. Students had gathered, their faces panic-stricken as they peered at the ominous door, their whispers barely concealing their terror. Mia's instincts screamed at her to escape, but Mr. Grayson blocked her path, his face twisted in anguish. "You must help me. You're the key." In that moment, the sight of his desperation stirred something within her. "What do I have to do?" she asked, her voice steadying despite her quaking heart. "Invoke the chant, but it must be done at the peak of midnight." He stepped aside, ushering her to the front of the room, every second stretching into eternity. The clock on the wall ticked ominously, its hands approaching the hour. The chanting grew louder in her ears, stirring her blood. What had she gotten herself into? Would she be the savior of room 204? Or would she unleash a horror too great to contain? As the clock struck midnight, her voice echoed into the gloom, each word twisting with an otherworldly power. Would she awaken a darkness that could not be quelled? And suddenly, the walls trembled. The tremor in the walls surged with a violent intensity, rattling Mia to her core. Dust cascaded from the ceiling, and her stomach churned as the chant spilled from her lips, each word feeling heavier, more burdensome. She could feel eyes, thousands of them fixated on her, not just from the room but from the depths of the shadows, watching her every move, hungry for something she couldn't comprehend. "Stop!" Mr. Grayson shouted, but the sound was lost in the chaos. The room transformed, the green light pulsated like a heartbeat, lighting up phantoms swirling around them, a dance of anger and sadness battling for dominance. "Please, help us." A collective voice emerged from the shadows, echoing sorrow and despair, chilling her blood as it cut through the air. Panic threatened to overwhelm her logic, yet she fought harder, concentrating on the words she had been invoking. They twisted in her throat like a double-edged sword. "What are they? What do you mean by, help us?" Mia shouted, trying to drown out the cacophony. An idea flickered in her mind. Could she reach the trapped souls? Did they need her to set them free, or was it all a ruse to ensnare her? "Don't engage." Mr. Grayson lunged toward her but was met with a force that sent him crashing to the ground. The room vibrated aggressively, shaking their foundation, forcing Mia to brace against the desk. Her heart thudded in her ears, a reckless drumbeat amplifying every breath she took. She couldn't stop. Not now. For a single heartbeat, she held doubt, but something deeper compelled her to push through, to understand the truth that lay beneath the fearful whispers. It felt like the very walls were alive, sharing their stories in a language that thrummed in her bones. Mia closed her eyes, surrendering to the words flowing from her lips, letting the sinister energy wash over her, no longer afraid of how deep this might go. The moment she surrendered her fear, everything changed. The air thickened, pressing on her with a weight so profound that she felt as though she was being pulled into the past. Suddenly, the whispers shifted in tone. "She can hear us." Light surged, illuminating the horrified faces of her classmates. Shock twisted their features, eyes wide with disbelief, while others looked on with a mix of dread and fascination. They hadn't believed Tommy, hadn't wanted to believe, but here they were, witnessing the haunting truth. The mirror behind her flashed with images, snippets of a different time, children just like her, trapped in an endless cycle of suffering. Each face flickered like a candle, illuminating their fight against an invisible oppressor. Mia's heart ached for them. What had happened in this very room? Stop! Mia shouted into the swirling chaos, desperate to maintain control. But as she continued to chant, the concept of reality warped around her. Shadows became ink-like figures, slinking closer, their fingers grasping at her, wanting her to join them. Let them go. You have no power here. She cried, her voice breaking through the dark web thickening around her, but the shadows hissed back, we are the lost, and you are just like us. The words wound tightly around her mind. Would her quest for understanding lead her to the edge of oblivion? Mr. Grayson struggled to his feet, his expression torn between fear and desperation. You must break the cycle. You have to choose. The clock around them reverberated loudly, each chime a reminder of time running out. Mia faced the mirror, feeling the pulse of energy beneath her fingertips as she gripped the desk, torn between sealing the darkness or unearthing the truth, and the shadows crept closer. With every second, she sensed the darkness inching toward her resolve like a coiled serpent, ready to strike. Then, a chilling voice cut through the oppressive silence. If you choose to help them, you may not return. Her breathing stopped as a shroud of dread enveloped her. Could this choice seal her fate? The clock struck 11, and there was no turning back now. What would she decide? The next moment altered. Everything shifted in an instant. A rush of energy surged through Mia like wildfire, igniting every nerve ending. Her choice hovered before her like a heavy storm cloud. Would she battle for the lost souls, knowing the risk, or would she choose the safety of her own existence? Do it! A voice cried from just outside the ring of chaos. It was Danny, his face pale, but determination burned in his eyes. You can't let them keep suffering. His words lodged in her chest, provoking a whirlwind of emotions. The shadows flattened against the walls, seemingly waiting for her decision, their dark forms still and expectant as if they recognized the scale of the weight on her shoulders. I have to help them. Mia finally yelled, her voice strong, piercing the veil of fear that threatened to bind her. She thrust her hands forward and channeled her energy into the chant, louder, more commanding. You are not lost. You will be free. The shadows flickered in silent outrage. A howl erupted, echoing through the room, and the green light splintered into shards of luminous despair. Foolish girl. The chilling voice twisted like a razor through the air. You don't understand, this is a pact. For every lost soul you free, one must take your place. Mia felt a wave of despair crash over her, momentarily stalling her breath. But the chorus of lost children surged around her, filling her with their longing. Each whisper was a reminder that she could not turn away. They deserved salvation, even at a cost. The mirror flashed again, replaying haunting images, their eyes filled with sorrow, yearning for release. The sharp pang of anguish twisted within her, igniting her desperation. I'm not afraid of your bargains. She shouted defiantly. With each word she invoked, the walls shook violently, and it felt as if reality itself was unraveling. The faces of her classmates swirled around her, their fear palpable in the tightness of the air, yet they stood by, witnesses to her stand. Please, she begged again, her voice breaking as her resolve began to crack. I can hear you. Lend me your strength. A powerful force tallied at her command, swirling around her like smoke. As it gathered, the air shimmered, shifting to electric tension. The shadows writhed, pushing closer, hungry for her energy and the dark promise they bore. Mia clenched her eyes shut. The throbbing light surged in her chest, radiating power that was foreign yet familiar, evoking a flame she had never known. You exist beyond my fears. You deserve to be free. Let me be the vessel. The room erupted, a pressure beyond anything Mia had ever experienced. With one final surge of energy, she released the chant, transforming it into a deafening roar that matched the heart of the storm inside her. The shadows shrieked, their forms fracturing like glass, and the collective souls surged toward her, merging with her voice. Suddenly, images rushed past her mind, a flicker of lives lost, moments stolen, anger entwined with hope. They wept for their lost time, frantically clawing at the boundaries they had been confined within for so long, and it felt like a million hands encapsulated her heart, squeezing until she gasped. "Let go!" she screamed, feeling the weight of their sorrow. Their despair shifted to something else, a euphoric swell as light erupted from her core. In an unearthly light, the room surged back, illuminating not just the ghosts, but the harrowing scars left on her world. The shadows shrieked and twisted violently against the energy, but Mia stood resolute, unyielding. "Let them go. Release them." In an instant, everything imploded, like the shattering of time itself. As the last syllable echoed into oblivion, the world around her spiraled into darkness. The shadows clawed and howled, shriek resonating against her bones as she was thrust into the void. When the tumult faded, she stumbled, gasping for breath, a weight pressing uncomfortably against her chest. But as the panic subsided, she realized she was no longer alone. She stood in a new realm, the embers of the battle still crackling in the atmosphere. A crystalline space surrounded her, the faces of the lost swirled lovingly, woven with threads of hope that mixed with shadows. But then, the mirror vibrated ominously, and as Mia turned, something far worse awaited her, a figure cloaked in darkness emerging from the haze. "Welcome back, Mia. You thought it was over." Her heart dropped as dread swept over her. The chilling truth loomed ahead, but she had no time. The haunting voices whispered insidiously through the air, stirring yet again. "You have opened a door, and nothing will be the same." Could she truly trust what would come next? The figure stepped closer, and Mia's blood ran cold. There was something eerily familiar in its silhouette, a shape woven into the tapestry of her nightmares. As the being cloaked in shadow advanced, an unholy chill rippled through the air, raising the hairs on her arms. Who are you?" Mia stammered, her voice barely above a whisper as she braced herself for whatever was to come. The figure paused, allowing the ambient shadows to swirl and breathe as if responding to its presence. "I am the keeper of the pact," it hissed, the words slithering out like smoke. "The very essence of those you tried to free binds us together now." Mia's heart raced. The pact? She had known that freeing the souls came with a price, but she hadn't understood what it meant to be tethered to darkness itself. "Why are you here?" she demanded, pulling herself up despite the tremor in her limbs. "I released them. I set them free." A low, guttural laugh filled the air, echoing around her like a haunting refrain. "Did you think their release would come without sacrifice? You now hold a part of their anguish, and in doing so, their fate is tied to yours." Every breath felt heavier as she fought to process those words. A part of them was within her now. Would they haunt her dreams? As if sensing her turmoil, the figure floated closer, its face obscured, yet Mia could feel its intensity bearing down on her. "You feel their pain, don't you? The weight of each lost moment drapes over your soul. You've merely exchanged one type of suffering for another." Mia's mind reeled. The voices, she could still hear them, whispering in the back of her thoughts. Each sorrowful plea gnawed at her consciousness, remnants of the release she fought to create. "No," she murmured, shaking her head as dread clasped tighter around her. "Embrace it," the figure urged, reaching out a wraith-like hand. "You think it is a burden, but it is a gift. You can use this power. You can keep the darkness at bay, even wield it if you dare." Mia's heart pounded furiously. "I don't want it." She took a staggering step back, but the shadows shifted with her, crowding in again, as if they were closing off her escape. "I want to find my way back. I need to protect my friends. I don't want to lose myself." "You already have," it murmured softly, the menace now undercut by a strange, almost seductive tone. You cannot unshake the pact, Mia. The walls of this realm are thin. You have opened the door, and darkness has seized its opportunity. With those words, the very space around her shimmered ominously, unfolding like an ancient scroll. Glimpses of her friends flickered in and out like dying stars caught in a cosmic web, Danny, Clara, others lost in a murky twilight where hope seemed a fading memory. They suffer still, but you have the power to change that, the figure whispered, its voice a siren song that reverberated in her chest. You just need to accept what you've become. Mia's hands trembled. Would she remain the girl searching for light? Or surrender to the shadow's promising strength? In that moment, confusion wrapped around her, suffocating her rational thoughts like a thick fog. Choose, Mia, it rasped, and her body stiffened. Harness your agony, wield it against those who endeavor to control you. Or watch as all that matters slips away. The weight of the decision pressed upon her as the restless whispers of the lost surged louder, their yearning a cacophony echoing through her mind, their crystalline faces blurring into one desperate cry, help us. Just then, the mirror thrummed aggressively again, revealing a tapestry of dark futures, her friends in agony, shadows lurking, and a storm brewing behind the veil. Each image sent a shiver up her spine, igniting a flicker of revolt. Whatever lies ahead I will fight, she declared, finding a small flicker of the strength she thought lost, but as the figure loomed closer, Mia realized the battle had only just begun. And then came the chilling whisper again, you've taken your first step. But at what cost? As the shadows cramped in, something deep within her stirred, and even as hope flickered, she felt a rising darkness surge in response, an undeniable hunger for escape. What now? A single thought consumed her, echoing through her mind like a relentless drumbeat. What choice would she make next? With the veil of uncertainty thickening around her, Mia braced for the unknown. How far into the darkness was she willing to go? What awaited her on the other side? Would she lose herself completely, or could she find a way to save them all? The darkness tightened around Mia, thick and clammy, pushing against her skin like a living entity. The figure, with its face shrouded in shadows, seemed to pulse with a life of its own, each breath it drew solidifying the weight of the pact binding her to the suffering of others. Fight? It echoed, a rumble that reverberated through her bones. You will need far more than mere will to combat this fate. The darkness craves you, Mia. It wants you to succumb. Mia's vision blurred as she fought to keep her focus. Glimpses of her friends flashed in her mind, Danny's smile, Clara's laughter, all now shrouded in an oppressive gloom. No. I won't let this happen. She cried out, her voice ringing defiantly in the oppressive silence. Those bonds you've created with them are now your chains, the figure hissed, advancing with an unsettling grace. They face unimaginable torment while you are caught in the crossfire. The more you resist, the deeper their suffering will grow. Each word wrapped around her, tightening like a noose. The shadows swirled, coiling and curling, offering glimpses of what lay ahead. Dark alleys where anguished cries echoed, darkness lurking behind every corner, waiting to pounce. Mia's heart raced. What if she couldn't save them? Let them go, Mia, the figure whispered, its voice soothing yet sinister. They deserve to be free of the burden you've placed on them, and a chilling smile seemed to blossom from the depths of darkness. You deserve to embrace your true self. Embrace what? She spat back, her resolve hardening. Watching my friends suffer. You think that's power? I think you crave control, and I can show you how to attain it, it replied, a hint of eagerness in its tone. All you need to do is let go of the light you've clung to, surrender to what is inside you now. A sinister hunger, a fire that can rend shadows from their hold. The air simmered, thick with temptation. Mia's mind raced through everything she'd learned. This wasn't just about her anymore. She had made her choice when she freed those souls. She couldn't let their sacrifice be in vain. I won't give in to you. I'll find another way. Suddenly, the ground beneath her shifted as shadows writhed, pulling at her feet. A chilling laughter echoed around her, mocking her spirit. You misunderstand, child. There is no other way, there is only this. Mia's breath quickened. How deep was she willing to go? The shadows started to swirl faster, forming chaotic patterns that threatened to consume her entirely. She could feel their desperation, the essence of those she had tried to save merging with her own, tender yet agonizing. Release them. She shouted, feeling a sharp pang of desperation. The air crackled with an electric tension. Let me see them. If you hold the power, then prove it. For a moment, the figure was silent, the swirl of darkness stilled. Very well. With a gesture that felt like a rending of space, it revealed a vision, a fleeting glimpse of her friends, locked in a battle with shadows of their own. Clara curled up in a corner, tears streaming down her face, while Danny fought off dark wraiths that reached for him with clawed fingers. No! Mia screamed, her heart shattering. A surge of rage and determination flared within her, fueling her resolve. I will not let this stand. I'll fight for them. I'll find a way. The shadows shrieked in unfathomable fury as her will clashed against their might. Suddenly, from the depths, she felt a rumble, something ancient, powerful awakening within her. The shadows hesitated, flinching at the strength she was beginning to draw upon. What have you done? The figure hissed, its eerie confidence wavering. The darkness around Mia thrashed violently as if sensing a change in the tide. Mia clenched her fists, feeling energy surge through each voluntary muscle. You thought I would crumble? She declared, her voice steadfast. I'll harness this pact, not as a burden but as my strength. I will save them. With each declaration, waves of light flickered behind her eyes, illuminating the darkness threatening to consume her. But, as the shadows writhed and howled around her, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Her reclamation had stirred something darker within the depths. What lay ahead? Would the shadows unleash their final strike before her resolution solidified? As she prepared to confront the gathering storm, a chilling heartbeat pulsed in the ether, a promise of chaos waiting just behind the curtain of shadows. Let the true battle commence, the figure's voice echoed darkly. Turning to face the unknown, Mia braced herself for what was to come. Each step forward felt like a scream against the void. Would she uncover the true depths of her newfound power, or would the darkness consume her? The answers lingered, elusive and menacing, as she took her first step into that impending tempest. The shadows writhed before Mia like a living, breathing creature, pulsating with energy that felt both seductive and terrifying. It was as if the darkness itself was aware of her desperation, tangling around her limbs, whispering her greatest fears. She felt her feet anchored to the ground, every part of her body screamed to move, to escape this entity that toyed with her courage. But then the anger surged again, fiery and intoxicating. How dare it threaten her friends? The chaos around her shrieked, a cacophony of suffering intertwined with her grief, her connection to Clara and Danny grounding her spirit. Fight! She roared, voice echoing through the storm of shadows, her heart a relentless drum. I will give you a reason to fear me. In that moment, she felt a shift within her. The darkness began to recoil at her words, the swirling mass stuttering, as if it hesitated to confront the power rising up in her. She reached for the depth of the shadows, seeking a shred of the bond that had once made her feel helpless, and yanked it into the light. Bright shards of energy erupted from her, brilliant like fireworks against the gloom. They pierced the shadows, illuminating twisted figures etched with sorrow, their ghastly wails dampened by the radiant glow of her resolve. For the first time, she could see their faces, the tangled suffering of those her heart had dragged along with her. This isn't just a battle of strength, she whispered, connecting with their anguish. It's a battle of light versus dark. The figure before her twisted in fury, its form losing shape, shifting like smoke in a gale. You underestimate what you have awakened, it hissed, a tone saturated with dread. You do not know the true cost of your defiance. Mia's chest tightened, but she countered, then show me. Reveal what you think will intimidate me. The shadow recoiled slightly, then surged forward, bringing forth waves of despair, visions flooding Mia's mind. Clara, curled in terror, gasping for air as nightmarish forms surrounded her. Danny, bloodied and weary instead of strong and defiant. They were connected to her. Her strength was their strength. She staggered back at the weight of their suffering, a lump forming in her throat. No, I can't let this continue. With each pulse of fear emanating from her friends, a fire ignited within her. Each horrific image, each anguished cry transformed into a call, a rallying cry demanding liberation and hope. Drawing on every ounce of her emotion, she summoned courage from that inexorable bond, forcing it through her fingertips. Light burst forth, exploding outward in blinding waves, illuminating the dark void. The shadows screeched, contorting and twisting, desperate to escape the onslaught. You will not take them. Mia's voice rang out, a battle cry echoing defiantly across the churning darkness that had threatened to swallow her whole. I will fight for the light within me, for the truth of who I am. In that blinding moment, she saw it, a crack in the vast shadowy landscape, a chance for escape. It throbbed with vibrant energy, pulling at her. But as she took a step toward the light, the figure lurched forward, desperation igniting a whirlwind of malevolent power. Foolish girl, it spat, gathering the collapsing shadows to form one ominous mass, lunging for her with immense speed. You think you can contain what lies within you? Mia's heart pounded like a wild beast. She felt the air around her electrify, the energy of her friends' hope bolstering her own. This was not just a fight for her, it was for their freedom, their very lives. Bracing herself, she steadied her breath. A war was brewing within and outside, but she had something the shadows didn't understand, unyielding love, depths of compassion that darkness could never touch. I'm coming for you. She shouted, fists clenched, ready to unleash the tempest of her spirit, but as she prepared to engage, she heard at a distant, sinister laughter amidst the chaos. You think your arms can reach the abyss? The figure's voice sliced through her resolve, leaving a chilling question lingering in the air. What awaited her in the depths of that darkness? Would she unravel the truth hidden within, or fall victim to the despair she sought to destroy? The answer danced just out of reach, waiting to unfurl as the storm closed in around her. The shadows rushed at Mia, a tidal wave of darkness, swirling and crashing against the light she had conjured. It was chaos, a tempest of fear and fury, but she stood her ground. Heart racing, she focused on that crack in the dark landscape, that sliver of hope. I will break you. She yelled, feeling her own courage become an undeniable force. With each whip of shadow that lashed out, she countered with shards of brilliant light. They collided like thunder, each explosion illuminating the horror around her. Ghostly faces twisted in agony, a multitude of lost souls. Mia saw their pain and felt a fierce resolve solidify inside her. They deserved to be freed. Let them go. She screeched, channeling all her essence into her words. The shadowy figure writhed, the anger radiating from it palpable, dark tendrils snapping viciously even as they struggled against her light. The laughter echoed again, deeper and savagely mocking. Your courage is admirable, but naive. You cannot save what is already lost. They will drown in despair, just as you will. Mia clenched her fists, each word fueling her fire. You have no power over them. She shouted, forcing more light from her core. The brightness surged, a beacon of defiance, as she pushed the dark mass back, but the figure wasn't finished. With an ominous growl, it rolled toward her like a cloud of smoke, more turbulent than before. Shadows tumbled along the ground, snaking around her legs, constricting tight enough to sting. Breathless, Mia stumbled but didn't fall. Strength surged from her friends, memories of laughter and hope urging her to rise. She focused, drawing warmth from the pain of their struggles, and blocked out the maddening whispers that clawed at her mind. I know you, she spat, feeling a chill trickle down her spine. You're nothing but fear made flesh. The figure twisted, a storm-torn visage shrouded in malice. And you are but a flicker in the void. But I'll feast on your light. I'll absorb it into my abyss. The darkness lunged again, a seething mass intent on devouring her spirit. Mia realized she couldn't just push against it, she had to dive into the battle with everything she had. Drawing on every ounce of love and hope, she reached deep within, feeling the connection with Clara and Danny. She could almost hear their whispers urging her on. With a primal shriek, she unleashed her brightest ray yet. The energy exploded around her, creating a shockwave that staggered the shadow figure. For an instant, everything froze, the resilience of her light clashing against the onslaught of the dark. Shadows quivered, revealing fissures of pain, of anguish buried just beneath the surface. The haunting laughter fell silent, replaced by a deep, echoing growl of displeasure. "This is merely the beginning, Mia," the figure hissed, its darkness pulsating and morphing. "You will learn that every victory comes with a price." Mia's chest heaved, words of anger caught in her throat as the figure began to dissolve into the shadows around her. Was it fear or something deeper that lingered beneath its malevolence? "Wait!" she shouted, desperately seizing at the remnants of the fading dark. "What do you mean? What price do I pay?" But the shadows were gone, leaving only silence and emptiness so profound it almost felt like a void sucking at her heart. Mia felt disoriented, the spectral glow around her flickering just enough to highlight the vast darkness encroaching again. "Clara! Danny!" she cried out, anxiety churning in her gut like a storm. Without the shadows to threaten her, she turned, desperate to find her friends, but as her gaze swept over the landscape, she saw only emptiness and shadow. Then a chilling realization struck her. Where had they gone? The air felt heavy and still as dread washed over her. They were still trapped somewhere in that suffocating darkness. "No!" she shouted, pain twisting her heart. It wasn't over. The darkness had merely retreated. But what would it take to pull them back from the brink? With renewed determination, she stepped forward, drawn toward the shadows that coiled menacingly in the distance. But the laughter returned, louder, more sinister. "Are you truly ready to enter the depths? To uncover the truth that lies within you?" Mia, trembling but unyielding, took a deep breath. "You may have taken them, but I will find them. I will drag them from the darkness, no matter the cost." And with that, she plunged into the shadows, her heart racing with fear and hope, prepared to confront her greatest nightmare. But as she ventured deeper, she couldn't shake off the feeling that this journey would reveal more than the truth behind her friends. It would force her to confront the darkness within herself. What secrets awaited in that abyss? Would she emerge victorious, or would the darkness consume her whole? Mia stepped through the veil of darkness, her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. Cold air engulfed her, wrapping around her like a damp shroud. The shadows whispered, curling and twisting like restless spirits, eager to envelop her whole. "Clara! Danny!" she called again, desperation slicing through the air like a knife. Each name felt heavier, resonating like a lost heartbeat. The silence that greeted her was haunting, echoing what seemed like a million lost moments. But she pressed on, moving deeper into the shadows, driven by determination and a flicker of hope. What awaited her here? The shadows pulsated, shifting close and then retreating, as if sensing her fear. They seemed to dance, mocking her struggle. A low growl reverberated from nearby, and a shiver skittered down her spine. She had to maintain her light, but the energy was slipping through her fingers, pooling in the darkness, dimming like smoke. Suddenly, she caught sight of movement, a flicker, a shape. "Please be them," she whispered. Mia surged forward, a sense of urgency fueling every step. The darkness felt alive, swirling just beyond her vision, threatening to drag her back into its depths. Then she saw it, a shadow cast against another, a distortion, and with it, the faces of Clara and Danny emerged, ghostly yet familiar. But they were choked in darkness, their eyes vacant, reflecting the fear that threatened to engulf Mia. "Help us!" Clara's voice was barely a whisper, a shuddering plea that nearly tore Mia apart. "No!" Mia shouted, her light flaring at the sight of her friends. "I'm here. I'll save you." She extended her hands, pouring her essence out like a wave crashing against the shore, but as her light surged, a dark tendril shot out, wrapping around Clara's arm, pulling her deeper into the void. Mia. Danny's voice, laced with panic, pierced through Mia's heart. The shadows fed off their fear, growing thicker and more tangible, choking the air. No. Mia screamed, feeling the ground beneath her tremble. She redirected her light toward the dark tendril, but it throbbed, pulsing with a life of its own, resisting her efforts. A chilling realization gripped her: this was the embodiment of their despair, a living horror that thrived on their pain. You are linked, trapped in a cycle of fear, the figure's voice taunted, echoing from the shadows. Their courage withers here, and so will yours, in time. No. Mia shouted back, fury igniting her spirit. She had tasted the darkness, felt its weight. But this time, she wouldn't let it take her friends, wouldn't let it consume her. You're wrong. I choose hope. I choose love. With each word, she felt warm energy swell within her, a brilliant cascade igniting her palms. The darkness hissed, recoiling as if it were burned. She pushed harder, every ounce of her will directed at her friends. Fight it. Come back to me. Clara and Danny locked eyes with her, a flicker of awareness igniting within their haunted gazes. As if pulling on a thread, they began to resist the pull of the darkness. Their connection to Mia sparked, weaving through the air like a lifeline, but just as victory seemed tangible, a roar echoed, a sound so feral, so primal, it shook her bones. The figure reformed, darker and more monstrous, feeding off Mia's light. You will pay dearly for this defiance. Terror cascaded through her. She had broken through the veneer, but was it enough? Keep fighting. She urged, her voice firm and steady. Yet the shadows around her twisted into horrific forms, writhing and changing, revealing the darkest parts of her own fears, her past, insecurities, and doubts. She faltered for a moment, doubt creeping in. Were they truly worth this fight? Would love prevail over an abyss so vast? Keep going. Danny's voice echoed through the darkness, full of strength. We believe in you, Mia. And with those final words, Mia surged forward, heart pounding. She summoned every shred of light within her, every ounce of strength. Would it be enough to conquer the terrifying dark that threatened to engulf everything? As the shadows enveloped her, Mia could feel the weight of the void pressing against her essence, trying to latch onto her fear. But she was done hiding. She would confront the darkness, not just for Clara and Danny, but for herself. But as she took a deep breath, the laughter returned, sinister and sharp. You think you can defeat me? You've only just begun to understand what true darkness is. With the shadows swirling hungrily around her, a chilling truth settled in. Would she embrace the darkness within, or would it consume her whole? Mia's heart raced as she stood in the oppressive, swirling shadows, awareness dawning like a candle flickering in the dark. She was standing on the precipice of her greatest battle, not just for Clara and Danny, but for her own spirit. I want to let you take them. She shouted, her voice cutting through the air, firm and unwavering. With a deep breath, she drew upon every moment she had shared with her friends, every laugh, every whispered secret, and every tear shed. Memories surged through her like a primal force, emboldening her resolve. The fear swelled, but so did the flickering hope inside her, a familiar warmth that had, until now, been drowned beneath layers of darkness. Light! She cried, and the word became a beacon. With one swift motion, Mia thrust her hands forward, summoning her energy like a tidal wave. A blinding light exploded from her palms. It surged into the shadows, illuminating fearsome faces caught in despair, whispers of forgotten souls swirling amidst a sea of black. The dark entity that loomed before her screamed, a sound that resonated with raw fury. You think your love can conquer me? You think it can break this cycle? Shadows roared and howled, reaching for her, but Mia fought hard. She felt the warmth of Clara and Danny's presence, tethering her to this realm, igniting a fire of resistance that pulsed with every heartbeat. Yes. That's exactly why I'll win. Mia's voice rang out, resonating with strength. Love is infinite. And I will not let fear twist its power. The light expanded, encompassing everything in its path, casting aside the darkness like threads being unraveled. In that moment, the faces of her friends emerged from the shadows, their eyes wide with recognition, clarity piercing through their anguish. Mia! They echoed, voices breaking through the haze, its impact sending ripples of energy through the air. We're with you. With renewed spirit, the three of them formed a triangle of pure, radiant energy, pushing against the darkness that begged to consume them whole. They became a multicolored blaze, triumphant and incandescent, swirling against the sinister entity in a tempest of courage, but the figure wasn't finished. Its laughter echoed, a chilling reminder of the stakes involved as it lunged toward them, dark tendrils stretching like claws. You are still chained. You cannot escape. It snarled, but in that moment, the energy of their friendship solidified. Mia reached deep within herself, grasping the pain that had threatened to undo her, transforming it into strength. Together. She cried, her voice firm. Every ounce of their power merged in a blinding flash, spilling like bright molten gold encompassing the dark entity, locking it in a struggle it could not win. We break this cycle now. The darkness screeched, twisting, contorting, desperately flinging the last of its malignant force. But the light pushed through, flooding the void. They felt the entity's fear as it weakened, and Mia sensed the souls bound within start to stir. Now is the time. She shouted, pouring every shred of hope into her hands. You are free. With that final declaration, the light erupted, engulfing everything. In a wave of brilliant white, the shadows shattered, scattering like ash thrown into the wind. Mia stood still, the echoes of the battle hanging in the air, until silence descended. A warm breeze swept over her, carrying the scent of sunlit fields and laughter. She opened her eyes, chest tightening with anticipation. The lingering remnants of darkness faded, dissolving like mist as the faces of lost souls materialized, not twisted in horror now but framed with gratitude. Thank you, they whispered in unison, their voices soft and serene, resonating with peace. You will always be a part of us. Mia felt the truth of those words wash over her, filling the void left by darkness. Clara, Danny, she turned to see the two standing beside her, their faces lit with relief and understanding. They all embraced, a tight-knit group drawn together by the power of their experience, sharing warmth in the echoing emptiness. Is it over? Clara whispered, searching Mia's gaze. She nodded, feeling a profound sense of peace settle within her. For now, yes. But the shadows may always lurk. We'll need to stay strong. As they shared that moment, the facade of room 204 seemed to shimmer, the boundaries between their world and the darkness thinning like the fabric of dreams. Let us go home, Danny said, and together they stepped back into familiar shadows, leaving the remnants of danger behind, but deep within, they all knew. Each day was a choice, a dance between light and dark. They had faced their fears together, and the bond they shared would be their guiding light in whatever came next. The days passed. Laughter echoed through halls once heavy with dread. Mr. Grayson vanished without a trace, but those haunting questions were no longer shackles, they were reminders of their resilience. They had fought the darkness, together, and had emerged closer, wiser, and forever changed. As they walked hand in hand into the brilliance of daylight, the shadows receded, and Mia felt a surge of hope. Look! Clara shouted, pointing ahead. A brilliant rainbow arched across the sky, proof that even in dark times, light could break through. Mia smiled, her heart full. She had faced the darkness and found a deeper connection to herself, her friends, and a world illuminated by hope. Let us keep shining, she said, and as they stepped forward into the warmth of a new dawn, the shadows faded into whispers, and they were ready for whatever came next. You need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive story that's just around the corner. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and spread the love. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what you think happens next. Don't wait even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is what makes this community thrive.